transition, emotional reaction.
And good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to a matinee edition of the Captain Lou Extravaganza on this Monday, April the 27th. Good afternoon again. Welcome. And I hope everybody's having a great day here today. Hope you're all staying safe on this Monday. We're still under the stay-at-home order and quarantine, self-quarantine, I guess, for another week. And hope again that everybody is taking advantage of that today and just being safe, keep the social distancing up. We're going to get there and we're going to have a lot of fun here this week on the show. We got a lot to talk about here this afternoon. We're going to be on till 2 o'clock Eastern time, and we're going to talk about The Last Dance, the documentary parts 3 and 4 last night, including Michael Jordan talking about the bad boys and Isaiah Thomas in particular, and everything that went from them finally overcoming the bad boys till the handshake dissing, if you will, by the Pistons at the end of that series. And I'm going to get into my thoughts on that and what some of the guys said, and that should be a lot of fun here this afternoon. We're also going to talk the NFL draft coming up over there that took place this past weekend. And, it went pretty much to chalk, I thought. The first round, not a whole lot of surprises. I thought most of the teams did pretty good. A couple of surprises, maybe Lakers, by the Packers, maybe the Raiders, depending on who you talk to. It's so funny because the draft really is a crapshoot, and you look at what they need and what they take, but for guys like me that aren't in the draft room, I mean, you don't know what they're thinking, what they really want to go after, and some eye raisers again from those of us that are maybe in the on the outside looking in. For example, the Packers trading up 4 spots to go after Jordan Love. I mean, this is a league where you're going to need 2 quarterbacks. I get it. I've thought long and hard about it over the weekend, and maybe that was indeed the right way to go. Coming up in 2021, they're going to have 17 games. They're going to have an extra playoff game should the Packers get in it, or whoever. You've got to have a solid backup at quarterback, and the first team that can prove that to you is the Lions. They didn't have anybody behind Matt Stafford. Detroit went into the season 3-1-1, and it looked like they might have a shot at getting into the playoffs. And then once Stafford got hurt, boy, I tell you what, 9 straight losses. They went 3-12-1. And so you do need a quality backup. As far as my Lions, I thought they did really well in the draft. They got what they needed to shut down corner, and I think Okudah is going to be able to start right away for the Lions. And their second-round pick with DeAndre Swift, I thought was a great pick as well. He's a playmaker, and Detroit needs that. They need somebody out of the backfield to be able to come in and catch the ball, and he's got some speed. And he's strong, and so I think that was a good pick for the Lions. They got defensive end help or edge rusher help in the 3rd round, along with some guard play that they desperately needed. So overall, I thought the Lions did very well in the draft. So we'll talk more about that as well. Coming up at 1:15, we're going to be talking to Jesse Thompson from the Washington Capitals, their youth hockey program that they've got. The ACHA is in conjunction with the Capitals today. They're doing a kind of a virtual hockey fair, if you will, kind of a combine. Now, what they've done in the past, this is kind of done in some other cities as well, in conjunction with the NHL, they get the high school kids in grades 9 through 12, and they have like a seminar and a combine, and they get to talk to coaches, and they get to talk to the administrators and find out what exactly goes into just getting ready for college, for hockey. You've got the juniors, you've got the OHL, you got the USHL, you've got all these levels. And what I like about this, and Jesse will be able to explain it a little bit more in a little bit more detail, is what the options are for these kids once their playing days are over. Now, it's kind of a different setup maybe for basketball or football or baseball even, because these kids can play right up until they're 21 years old at the amateur level. Then they can go to college. A lot of these NCAA teams that you see now and the ACHA teams, their kids are playing until they're 26 years old. And you've got that, such an age gap from true freshmen that are 18 years old playing with kids all the way up to 25 and 26. So it gives these kids a better look at what is out there. And I think a lot of times the college hockey scene is, I don't think it's really given a true opportunity, if you will, a true look, especially at the ACHA level. And this is a great opportunity for the coaches and the administrators to talk with the parents. And Jesse will come on, as I said, in about 7 minutes to talk to us a little bit about what they've got going on all week with the Caps Hockey, the virtual hockey fair, in conjunction with the Washington Capitals and Capitals Youth Hockey. So a lot to talk about this afternoon. And again, the topic on everybody's mind in the sports world is The Last Dance. I will promise you I will get into that in the second half hour of the show here today, my thoughts on it. And, all I'll say right now is I don't have any less respect for Michael Jordan as a player. And he said it going in before this documentary. He said there's going to be some hurt feelings. And he was afraid some people are going to like him or like him less or not like him. I don't think he cares about what Isaiah Thomas thinks. But it's obvious because what he brought into that show last night, he was pretty blunt about his feelings, and I can appreciate that. And he shouldn't apologize for that, but neither should Isaiah Thomas. Nobody should be apologizing for anything. And I don't care. I'll get into it at the bottom of the hour because I got a feeling it's going to be, I don't want to get into it and have to stop when we talk to Jesse here in about 5 minutes. So we'll talk about all that in the bottom of the hour. And I'm sure we'll talk about it again tomorrow night on our show as well, which will be our normal time, which is 8 until 10 p.m. Eastern time. So again, we invite you to join us for that. We're going to be on in the afternoons again this week as we've got with the social distancing and the stay-at-home order. Things are still, coming along slowly, very slowly. And, hopefully we can get things back to order. I know it's very difficult out there, just not with sports, but everything on a personal level with people having to cancel their weddings and graduations and whatnot. And, we talk just about every day about when the sports are going to come back up and when are they going to start back up. There's talk now that the NBA is starting to possibly open up their training facilities starting on Friday. And what is that going to do? You can't have full workouts, but they can open up the training facilities for the guys possibly to come in on their own. Well, in the places where it's allowed. I don't know if the NBA, if that's such a smart idea or not for the NBA. Are they opening up a can of worms for some of these places these states that still won't allow it, like Michigan, for example? What are the Pistons going to do? I know, but right now there are places like in Oklahoma, or I beg your pardon, Nebraska, which they don't have those restrictions. So, I mean, there's still that opportunity where the players that live there, they've been training all this time. You're going to have that competitive advantage no matter what you do. So what does that mean? Does that mean that we are a little bit closer to maybe having training camps open, the season resuming? There's still so many variables. You look at the talk of here in Michigan, where Michigan State and Wayne State are already making plans for online classes for the fall. Does that mean that football is going to be taking place in the fall? Are they going to allow athletics? So many variables with that. And everything is still on hold, and it's all just guesswork on our end. I mean, it gives us something to talk about, as I mentioned, but you look at it and you think, okay, is it really going to happen? Is it really going to happen? So, that's what we have to wait and find out. So we hope that, we hope that it does from a sports point of view. But again, we just want to make it right. We want to make sure it's safe. Well, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we hope to be joined by Jesse Thompson from the Washington Capitals Youth Hockey Association. We'll talk a college hockey fair little something different here on the show. You're watching the Captain Lou Extravaganza live here on the 12 Ounce Sports Network.
Esports are here to stay. Go to jazzsports.ag, log into your account, and look for our new esports section on the top of your screen. Browse through all the different available matches and watch them live with our exclusive esports betting platform. Get instant access to game results, pending and graded bet reports, outright bet types, and upcoming match schedules, all at the easy reach of your fingertips. Jazz Sports puts you in the game.
DrinkAid, ready for distribution worldwide.
Nothing makes us happier at Lexington Law than when our clients cancel our services. Listen to this client call and see what we mean.
Lexington Law Firm, this is Erin.
I would like to cancel my account.
I'm sorry to hear that.
No, don't be. Actually, you guys have done tremendous work for me, and I was working with you for several years now. And my goal was to get a mortgage written by the end of this year, and I just got that mortgage commitment.
That is wonderful.
My credit went from like 440 working with you guys to 700.
Nice.
And I got a very good 4.25% 30-year fixed rate mortgage. I have nothing at all bad to say. If you ever want me to write a testimonial, well, I will. As a matter of fact, I've recommended you to a lot of friends.
Lexington Law has served over 500,000 clients, taking expert action on their credit that has led to the removal of millions of questionable negative items from their credit reports. Call now and learn more about how Lexington Law may be able to help you in the removal of negative items from your credit report, such as collections, late payments, charge-offs, and many others. Call Lexington Law today.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to the show here on this Matinee Monday, April the 27th, 2020. Glad you could join us here, Captain Lou, here on the Captain Lou Extravaganza, here live on the 12 Ounce Sports Network. And again, we're outside today. We thought we'd take advantage of the beautiful weather to be outside for a little, just a little on location, if you will, in our backyard out on the veranda. Take advantage of the sunshine here on this Matinee Monday. We're going to be scheduled to be joined shortly by, actually, I think Jesse's on the phone right now, so let's see if we can't bring her in. And we are indeed live with Jesse Thompson here on the Captain Lou Extravaganza. Jesse, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Lou. Thanks for having me.
Oh, the pleasure's all mine. Beautiful Monday afternoon where we're at. I know you guys and gals are busy right now with your college hockey fair, kind of a virtual combine, if you will, with the Caps Youth Hockey. How's everything going with that?
It is going great. We are so fortunate to be able to have made this event a virtual opportunity, and it all kicks off tonight. So we're really excited.
Now, I'm very excited to learn about this. There's such a misnomer about, still college hockey out there. A lot of times folks think that when they can, when their kids might be eligible for youth hockey, maybe going to the juniors and whatnot, this is such a great way for them to get to know that the options that are out there for college hockey.
Absolutely. So the whole point of this event, and we usually do an in-person event at the end of March that includes a combine portion, so on ice and off ice testing that the players get to go through in front of these college coaches. But this would have been the 13th year that we would have done this event. So it has a lot of value. And the whole point is that there are so many kids in this DC, Maryland, Virginia area that play hockey because they love hockey. They might not necessarily be the best players in the area. They might not be NCAA bound, but we want to show them through our partnership with the ACHA that if they want to continue playing the sport they love in college, there is a school and a program for them. So we're so fortunate to be able to work with the ACHA. They're incredible. And obviously couldn't do this without our corporate partner, AAA.
Mm-hmm.
So being able to make this opportunity virtual to show these kids who have a lot of questions right now about what's going to happen and stuff like that, show them that there are so many different opportunities to play hockey beyond high school. It's been a lot of fun.
Well, Jesse, one of the things that I really like about this too is there's a lot of other things besides actually playing hockey that, the kids and the parents may not know, like how to apply for financial aid, the admissions process. I mean, this is foreign for anybody that's not going into hockey, the kids that are going into their, regular academic year when they graduate high school. And you guys are able to show them a little bit about how that works as well.
Yes, exactly. So kids, student athletes, our high school hockey players, they have a lot of questions, but we find that parents, guardians, family members are really the ones who have the most amount of questions and want to be as informed as possible. So a big part of our in-person event that we've translated to this virtual event is our parent guardian webinar. So that's actually tonight at 5:30. And it is an opportunity for anybody, parents, guardians, family members, friends, student athletes themselves, to ask questions. We have an awesome group of panelists. We have Craig Barnett, who's the executive director of the ACHA, as well as Steve Hijack, who serves on the board of the ACHA and is the head coach at George Mason, to answer any questions about the league in general. And then we have an admissions officer, a financial aid counselor, on the panel as well to answer all of those questions from a parent perspective. And then obviously in the past couple years, female hockey has really grown. And we actually have seen that we had 44 schools, ACHA programs participating in this event this year. Half of them, 22 of them, are female programs, which is awesome. So Haley Skarupa, who's a Rockville, Maryland native, she played at Boston College, which was in the NCAA, but she grew up playing hockey in Rockville, Maryland, is going to sit on the panel to answer any questions about what it's like being a female, growing up in this area playing hockey. So we think it's going to be really, really valuable.
Oh, 100%. And it, again, it gives a great look for the kids. And now, what has the challenges been for you, Jesse, without the actual combine where the kids get to get out on the ice, and just what has been your biggest challenge to be able to put this show on this year?
Yeah, I think the combine is one of them, being that having the opportunity to actually play in front of these college coaches is a big part of the event for the kids. So I know that that's something that we're not able to translate virtually, but I'm hoping that providing these connections between the students and the programs allows them to introduce themselves and maybe schedule a visit, or something like that when obviously we are able to do so. And then the other big challenge is just communication. Everybody is spending time with their families, and a lot of people have children, multiple kids in the house who are helping with online classes and stuff like that. So just being able to gather everybody and get the word out there about this event has been a little bit of a challenge, but definitely something that we've seen we were able to overcome because there's so much interest. So the ACHA programs have been absolutely fabulous. So great at communication, giving us all the info that we can provide to the kids. So I'm very fortunate that everything has gone off as smoothly as it has.
And one of the nice things too, like you said, is after the panelists are on today, they've got all week to be able to talk with the individual. If there's a team or teams that they want to set up a Zoom meeting with, that's another thing that I really like about this, is that they can get individual, well, maybe group time, but at least they're able to set up a time block to see and talk to the individual coaches.
Exactly. So that's one of the things that we haven't done in the past that we really are excited about for this week. So all of the programs, all 44 schools that are participating, have a scheduled 45-minute window throughout this week. And the schedules were sent to all of the participating student athletes. And kids can call in throughout the week. It's all after the school hours. Kids can call in to as many different programs as they want. Very, very casual. So they can dial in at any point throughout the 45-minute open window. And let's say it's University of Maryland, they can call in and talk to the UMD coaches and just introduce themselves, ask any questions about the school in particular, talk about what student life is, what team life might be. So we've gotten a lot of positive feedback about those opportunities. So looking forward to see how those calls go this week.
What's funny is in the 6 years that I've been involved with the ACHA from a broadcasting perspective, I've seen how much it has grown and the word has gotten out. What have you noticed, Jesse, in the years that you've worked with it, that the growth of this from when it started?
Oh, it's tremendous. Like I said, this would have been our 13th year doing this event. I've only done this event 4 times with the Capitals, so this is my 4th year doing this event in this position. And even in the past 4 years, it's really grown. And I think a lot of that is that we've built value in this event. So we have programs, ACHA programs that have started with us at the very beginning, and programs that have added in the past couple years. And when ACHA programs participate in this event, they talk to other schools, they talk to other coaches and say, hey, we got 2 players from local DC area high schools who are great additions to the team. We recommend that you guys go. This event is completely free when it's in person to both the student athletes as well as the ACHA programs, which makes it just that more of an accessible opportunity. So the entire virtual event is free as well, and we've really seen tremendous growth. So we're very, very happy about that.
Boy, the more I think about it, the more excited I am for you guys. And it's such a win-win for both sides because, say, for example, you're a family, there might be in 10th or 11th grade or whatever, and they wouldn't be able to maybe take that trip, to Sioux College or all the way down to the University of Georgia to do this. Whereas now they can talk to the coaches, and same with the coaching staffs and the schools. They have this opportunity maybe as well where they wouldn't be able to reach out to go all the way up to, Providence or Mercyhurst or wherever if you are a Georgia or whatever. And that's the big aspect I love about this too.
Exactly. We have schools from all over the country participating that, exactly like you said, might not be able to come to our traditional in-person event. So we've definitely seen an expansion of schools with this virtual event. So we're thinking it's a no-brainer to be able to add some sort of virtual portion like this for events in the future.
Well, Jesse, again, one more time, if you would, just a synopsis of what's going on this week and which I consider to be a great, great event.
Thank you. Yeah, so we have our Capitals Virtual College Hockey Fair, which is driven by our awesome partner, AAA, starting tonight with our Parent Guardian panel. It's completely free. It's an online webinar for parents, guardians, student athletes to learn more about what ACHA hockey looks like. So if anybody is interested in dialing into that webinar, they can email youthhockey@washcaps.com. It's all one word, youthhockey@washcaps.com, and we'll send you the link.
Jesse, thank you so much for coming on. Anything with the ACHA, I love to promote. It's been very good to me, and I've seen how well the ACHA has worked for a lot of kids. They get an opportunity for an education, even if they don't use this right after they graduate high school, because you know how they can play in the juniors and whatever till they're 20 or 21. This is a great, great tool for them to go back to, and it's something I know that they won't forget.
Definitely. Couldn't agree more.
All right, Jesse. Well, good luck this week. I hope everything goes off without a hitch. I got a feeling it will. Thanks for joining us this afternoon, and good luck.
Thanks for having me, Lou. Talk to you soon.
All right, thank you. Jesse Thompson from the Washington Capitals, Cap Youth Hockey. They're having their Capitals High School Hockey College Combine is what it's called. But this year, obviously, it's more the virtual hockey fair, and it's a great idea. I totally encourage anybody that just might have some questions about the ACHA. It's a great way to look at it. And again, you get to talk to some of these coaches. I've gotten to know a few of the coaches myself, and I know they're excited about doing this. And it's a great opportunity. And like I said, it's not just about the hockey itself. You get to learn about how the admission system works, the FAFSA, applying for financial aid, all that. They've got panelists on there that will talk about it. And, I will spew the virtues of the ACHA just because I've been involved with it at the local level in the Grand Rapids, Michigan area with Aquinas College, and also having a chance to broadcast the national championships. I'll tell you, from a product perspective, the competition and the level of hockey, it's fantastic. I mean, you've only got 70 NCAA schools, I believe, that are available at the D1 level. And I know they've got D3, but this ACHA at the D1 and D2 and even the D3 level, there are some programs that is almost the D1, I will say, is more comparable to the D3 level, the NCAA, maybe a step higher, but the D2 and the D3 level, it's a great opportunity for kids, for guys and gals that are done with the eligibility at the juniors level, or they just want that education right out of high school. High school hockey players, a lot more are going right into the ACHA level, and it's a great avenue for them to further their education and play the sport they love. And one of the other things that I've noticed, it brings a great sense of discipline with the kids, because let's face it, you're playing hockey, let alone any sport at the college level. You've got to have the discipline. You've got to have the organizational skills, to maintain your academics. And then, of course, you get that competition that, is still there. And I could say that about any sport. I get that. But you get that competition level that is still there. And it really is something to behold. And so if you're interested at all in college hockey, I highly encourage you taking this opportunity to try to go and take a look at this. It's free. It's absolutely free. And they're putting on a great event in the Washington, D.C. area with this college hockey web fair for the ACHA. And so I really encourage you to take a look at that. And again, you can do the Zoom-ins with the coaches afterwards, which is something that you really haven't been able to do in the past. And it's a great tool if you want to learn about a college that might be thousands of miles away, anywhere from Central Michigan to Georgia to Sioux, Canada, where they have some very, very good programs and some gorgeous universities. So we're going to take a break. When we come back, we will turn our attention, as promised, to the Last Dance, and to, if we've got time, we'll talk a little bit about the NFL draft over the weekend. You're watching the Captain Lou Extravaganza live here on the 12-Ounce Sports Network.
Nothing makes us happier at Lexington Law than when our clients cancel our services. Listen to this client call and see what we mean.
Lexington Law Firm, this is Erin.
I would like to cancel my account.
I'm sorry to hear that.
No, don't be. Actually, you guys have done tremendous work for me, and I was working with you for several years now, and my goal was to get a mortgage written by the end of this year, and I just got that mortgage commitment.
That is wonderful.
My credit went from like 440 working with you guys to 700.
Nice.
And I got a very good 4.25% 30-year fixed rate mortgage. I have nothing at all bad to say. If you ever want me to write a testimonial, well, I will. As a matter of fact, I've recommended you to a lot of friends.
Lexington Law has served over 500,000 clients, taking expert action on their credit that has led to the removal of millions of questionable negative items from their credit reports. Call now and learn more about how Lexington Law may be able to help you in the removal of negative items from your credit report, such as collections, late payments, charge-offs, and many others. Call Lexington Law today.
Drink Aid, ready for distribution worldwide.
Esports are here to stay. Go to jazzsports.ag, log into your account, and look for our new esports section on the top of your screen. Browse through all the different available matches and watch them live with our exclusive esports betting platform. Get instant access to game results, pending and graded bet reports, outright bet types, and upcoming match schedules, all at the easy reach of your fingertips. Jazz Sports puts you in the game.
Well, there we go. Sorry about that. I guess my microphone was off. Great. Oh boy. Well, let's try this again. Now that we spent about 3 minutes on that, I apologize. Anyways, again, let's first off by saying thank you to Jessie Thompson for coming on from the Washington Capitals, as she again explained what's going on with the ACHA virtual hockey fair with the Capitals Youth Hockey. A great avenue, as I mentioned, with for those that are looking where to go to to extend their hockey playing, maybe going to college, and even if they're going into juniors and their eligibility is up in the near future, it's still a great avenue to check it out. You can check out the programs a little bit. You get individual Zoom time with the coaches. They've got their blocks, if you will. You can go on and talk to a coach from the University of Georgia, perennial national power in the ACHA, or Central Michigan, or some of the other schools on the East Coast. George Mason, one of the panelists, will be their head coach, Steve Hijack, of the now Division I George Mason team. But again, if you're looking to extend your hockey career, if you're in high school or in juniors, this is a great avenue to take a look at, as the ACHA hockey scene has exploded, and the quality of hockey is very, very good. And they've got a very good system in place. And not only on a hockey perspective, as I mentioned, but from a, you can find out how to go about the financial aid portion of it, selecting, just the college life in general. So it's a great little introduction. The director of the ACHA will be on, Craig Barnett, and one of the women players that is really big into college hockey, and it's a great panel, and I invite you to check that out. It's, I believe, at 5:30 tonight, and then they will be having blocks reserved on Zoom for individual teams that if you might want to take a look at and talk to their coaching staff. So as I mentioned, also, now let's get back to what we were talking about. Oh boy, 2 minutes in the penalty box for me for forgetting to turn my microphone back on. We're talking about The Last Dance, and what I enjoyed the program. I've been enjoying the program, and it's been fun watching them chronicle the Chicago Bulls. It brings back a lot of fun memories for me as an NBA fan back in the 80s, growing up watching it. For those of you that have followed me on the show, I've been watching sports since about 1970. So grew up watching the NBA in the 70s and 80s, how basketball evolved from the 70s to the 80s, and then watching Michael Jordan and the Bulls kind of evolved into the powerhouse that they became in the early 90s after they got through the Detroit Pistons. What I liked about the show last night was the inside story, kind of a little bit that you didn't know about Phil Jackson coaching in Puerto Rico. I knew that he was on the Knicks and had a good career with the Knicks. They won a couple of national championships, and his coaching started after that, and where he played in South Dakota. And of course, Dennis Rodman. I mean, you've seen all these documentaries about Dennis Rodman, when he played with the Bad Boys, when he played with San Antonio, the stuff where he went to Vegas. He was able to talk Phil Jackson into letting him have 48 hours to go to Vegas. And then when Michael Jordan had to go yank him out of his room. I mean, those are things that you've never normally heard about. And from that perspective, it was pretty cool. And I've enjoyed it. Now, then, of course, the subject came up with the Bad Boys and how much he hates the Bad Boys, which I get. I mean, it's a hatred. It's a genuine hatred. And I guess, then, of course, it evolved where they chronicled not the first couple of years. They didn't do anything about 1988 when Detroit handled them rather easily in 5 games. But then in 89, they lost in 6. And then in 1990, the migraine game, if you will, where Scottie Pippen couldn't come out. And, I'll give John Sally credit. He kind of defended him. And, I can't imagine playing with double vision or whatever. I mean, it was a tough break for Scottie Pippen and the Bulls. But they just weren't tough enough. And Detroit had their number mentally. But, I guess, and then, of course, in 91, Chicago, they chronicled where they got tougher. They They went right to the gym. They physically got tougher. And I think eventually they got mentally tougher. And that's what you needed. And you still need that. They had to learn to win, and they finally were able to do it. Now, where I guess my problem lies with it all is, I don't have a problem with Detroit not shaking hands. That's how it was back then. And it's funny how ESPN and some of these other schlups like Doug Gottlieb and Pat Forty and some of these others have selective memories. So it's hard for me to take them serious. Jackie McMullen last night, dogging the Pistons and everything. And, here's my thing with it. And I got to give credit to Stephen A. Smith. And I remember this. It was after Game 3. Chicago's up 3-0. That's when Michael Jordan started opening his mouth saying, disrespecting the Pistons, saying they weren't true champions and they don't deserve it. They don't deserve the crown. And, they didn't earn their spot. Really? And that's the reason Isaiah said. That's one of the reasons why they didn't shake their hand. And you know what? I don't have a problem with it. You look back on it, and I've said this before this even before this documentary. Larry Bird and Robert Parrish and Dennis Johnson, they all get a free pass for what they did in Detroit. And I remember that. I watched it. It's funny because I see a lot of these people that are commenting on it that weren't even alive back then. They have no clue about what happened. They see this documentary, which again was a great documentary. It is. It's been fun to watch. They see this, and then they say, okay, you know what? They're asses. They play dirty. I got to tell you, they're not getting the true scope. And Isaiah Thomas, I give ESPN a lot of credit for this, though. They are giving the Pistons a chance to defend themselves. Isaiah. Bill Laimbeer's going to be on The Jump today, one of the shows on ESPN, and I saw an excerpt from that, and he was great. Detroit has no reason to apologize. None whatsoever. The Lakers did it. Where was Jabbar? Where was James Worthy when Detroit beat them in '89? They weren't anywhere to be found. Detroit was on the stands, was on the sidelines giving them a standing ovation for Jabbar. L.A. knew their time was over. Detroit should have won it the year before. They got screwed on that phantom foul on Laimbeer against Jabbar. That was a joke. You talk about LeBron getting flops, which he does, but that was a joke. But you never saw, nobody shook hands. The 76ers never did. The Celtics never did. The Lakers never did. So all of a sudden, because it's Michael Jordan, that the Pistons have to? No, you don't do that. And it's funny because you got Horace Grant on there. And I'm going to use the language, I'm apologize ahead of time. You got Horace Grant on there saying that Detroit was a bunch of bitches. Well, let me tell you something. He should know because he was Detroit's bitch for 5 years. Whenever he got hit barely, he flopped and he got up whining. And Michael Jordan even said it. Toughen up. That's how it was played back then. I honestly think, and I agree to a certain extent, Michael Jordan, I think, has the hatred for the Pistons because what they did to him before that. And I know what he called Isaiah, and I don't expect anything less out of Michael Jordan. His feelings were hurt, and they still are. And it's amazing. They talk about how tough they are. Those guys are still in their heads 30 years later. They're the ones still bringing it up. And I know they're getting egged on by the media. But, it's like Bill Laimbeer said, why do I care what the media says? Why should I apologize? And he's 100% right. That was the attitude back then. And, Larry Bird never got eviscerated like Isaiah did. Never. LeBron did it in '09, and he got tore up about it. But that's how it is now. This league is soft compared to 30 years ago. No doubt about it. Now, granted, I believe some of the superstars now could go in the 80s and they would do good. But I also know that if the Bulls played now, or they would still win. And I saw something yesterday about how Draymond Green, the three of us, changed the league. Draymond Green he is not on the same level of Dennis Rodman. Rodman, all it would take would be one shove. He'd be in Draymond Green's head so fast, he'd have him out of the game because he'd retaliate. And I'm talking when he was with the Bulls even. Those Bulls teams of 96, 97, and 98 would be champions today because they had the toughness that they learned when they played the Pistons. They knew what it takes. And the Pistons kind of showed them how to be tough, just like the Celtics and the Lakers showed the Pistons how to be tough. Horace Grant, he can get out. You know what? It's funny they have him on there, and it's funny how Michael Jordan squealed on him with the goods on him. So, it's great entertainment. And what gets me, though, are these journalists, especially the ones that covered the game back then. There's selective amnesia when it comes to the Bulls and the Pistons back in the day. Jackie McMullen, I've lost a lot of respect for. She gave, again, she was there in Boston. She covered it. She knew what it was like. That game in the Palace, at the Silverdome, like I said. Adrian Dantley shooting free throws. There goes Robert Parrish. There goes Larry Bird, Dennis Johnson. They're all leaving for the locker room. Nothing was said. And Isaiah had to grab McHale. McHale was getting on his way to going. I give McHale for stopping. I'll give him credit, as did John Sally for the Pistons. Nobody ever says anything about that. And, Isaiah will be vilified. And I'm not here to change anybody's mind, but I'm here to stick up for him. And I'm also not here to say that holy cow, Brontosaurus Bumblebee there. I'm not here to take anything away from the Bulls team themselves. They've earned where they got. They learned how to win. They got tough. They got mentally tough. But I like Horace Grant on that show last night came across as a mental, what. I'm not going to say the word anymore. I'll use his word. He's a mental bitch. He still is. And, I got no respect for him to do that. Detroit's still in his head. They're still in Pippen's head. And, the other thing that I want to talk about with this is about Isaiah getting frozen out of the Dream Team. He defended himself this morning with Stephen A. Smith and Max Kellerman. And, there was supposedly a plethora of players that didn't want him on there. It's like he said, who is it? I'm sure it was Scottie Pippen was one. And I'm sure Karl Malone was one. And it's funny how Karl Malone and the Jazz, they're just as dirty as, if not worse than Detroit. Those elbows that Karl Malone used to throw, and you talk about an overrated ball player there, Karl Malone. He's right up there with Scottie Pippen. Now, Scottie Pippen was good later on in his career, but he, again, and I'll say this till the day I die, there's no way that he should have been on that team instead of Isaiah. And you're going to have John Stockton on there instead of Isaiah Thomas? It's an absolute joke. It's an absolute joke. And another one that I lost a lot of respect for is Magic Johnson. Where was he to defend Isaiah? He's nowhere to be found because he didn't want his brand tarnished. Because he knew that if he went against Michael Jordan or anybody else, that, it would hurt his image. How dare he defend Isaiah Thomas, who was probably, the second best point guard behind Magic. He was nowhere to be found. And I lost a lot of respect for him in that regard. I think that's an absolute joke. And so, it just goes to show you that, I don't know. And it's like Isaiah said this morning. He said the only hole in his resume or whatever is not making the Dream Team. And he had the credentials to get on there. He was on the Olympic team in 1980. He was a two-time national or a two-time NBA champion, an MVP, NBA Finals MVP, All-Star. He's a 12-time All-Star. He should have been on there, and he wasn't. And again, it's like he said, if it's because he wouldn't shake Michael Jordan's hand, then yeah. If that's the ultimate reason, then yeah, I think that I lost a little respect for Michael Jordan. But, Michael Jordan was at the top then. And he had the cachet. He could do it. And, that's kind of, I got to be honest with you, it made me root less for the Dream Team. Now, you knew they were going to win the way it was set up. I mean, at that time, meaning America, still had the upper hand maybe in the talent level of basketball. And with the pros on there, we dominated. It wasn't even close. It was hard to watch. It really was. And so I lost a lot of respect for Magic Johnson. And, he could have stuck up for him. And I just, where was Chuck Daly in all this? I thought he had some pull. But, that's so, I don't know, that's just kind of my take. I just love how everybody is quick to bash the Pistons because of what some of these guys will say. But I'll tell you what, Isaiah Thomas, vastly underrated. I think part of it, too, was because he has a winning record career against Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan resents that. He's like, that's the competitive nature in him. And that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. He's not, he says he hates him to this day. Well, that's good. But to expect Detroit to apologize for it and feel bad about it? No. And Isaiah apologized to the city of Detroit for what it may have caused. You don't have to apologize to Detroit or the Pistons fans. Detroit won 2 world titles. You can't take that away. And if it weren't for a BS call against the Lakers, it would have been 3 in a row, shooting for a 4th. And so there's no reason to apologize. And I totally agree with Bill Laimbeer. What do they care what the media thinks? What do they care what I think? But I will expound the truth, is that I will defend him. Because, again, back then, you didn't do that. You didn't go out of your way to – it was not the norm to shake hands and wish good luck. Again, ask the Celtics before that, or the 76ers, or back in the 70s. They didn't do that. So I don't want to hear any more of that. And you can tell me that all you want. You can bring it on. I don't care. Just remember, do your research before you do the half-ass comments on it, is all I'm saying. Because that holds no weight with me on that. So, anyways, still a fun show to watch. And again, I'll reiterate, I like Michael Jordan to me is still probably the all-time best player. He's right. If he's, I think I like his overall play. It's either him or Kareem. Now, LeBron, he's got to be right up there in the top 3. Now, I wouldn't put Magic in the top 5. I would put Michael, Kareem, LeBron, Larry Bird, and Kobe. Then Magic would probably be number 6. I mean, how could you go wrong with them? And it changes all the time. But I just, Magic was a game changer, no doubt about it. Very versatile. LeBron is too. But I just think you look at Michael and what he did. And I think that he would dominate more now than back then because he wouldn't have got hammered like he did. And the way he adapted his game. That's the other thing that a lot of people forget to realize about Michael Jordan. He started out under Stan Albeck. God love Stan Albeck, the old Northern Michigan University coach. And, under Doug Collins, he was the focal point. He was it. He adapted to that triangle offense. And he was smart enough to do that. And he was also smart enough to learn from the beatings that they took, the losses and whatnot from the Pistons. They got stronger. They got tougher. He adapted. He's, in my book, mentally tougher than anybody else, LeBron included. And so I just think that he's got to be my number one. But that's what shows like this, it's fun to debate it because you don't know. I mean, everybody's got a different opinion on it. So there you go. Well, we've only got a few minutes left, probably about 4 minutes left. We'll touch on the draft real quick. I'm going to go through it thoroughly tomorrow night on my show. And also Tyler Marcotte's going to join us at 9 o'clock Eastern time. And we'll talk some NHL hockey with him. We'll find out what he thinks if we're going to have a season. We'll go over the season up to this point, and we'll talk some old-time hockey with him, Stanley Cup memories and whatnot. I know he's got some. He's had the pleasure of helping cover the Stanley Cup finals, I believe was Pittsburgh and Nashville. So we'll talk to Tyler at 9 o'clock. Really looking forward to that. He's one of our contributors to the show. The NFL Draft, which you saw the coverage live here on the 12-Ounce Sports Network. Again, want to thank Logan Ward and Todd Corder for coming on as our tag team partners on the show Thursday night for round one. It was an absolute treat. You go down the list of winners and losers. I look at it. The top six, Miami, kudos to them. Whatever facade or smoke screen or whatever they put on to think that Detroit was going to trade with them, it worked because they held pretty well, chalk true to form, and I thought they did really well with the draft picks they got. The Lions, I thought, did good with Okudah, and also the top two picks were pretty much chalk. Joe Burrow's going to be great. You could debate. Again, I've debated on whether if he's going to be a generational quarterback. Time will tell on that. The Packers drafting Jordan Love, my only question about that, and I said it on here, and I said it on my show, other shows that I was on, don't be surprised if they draft him or a quarterback. My question is, why did they draft up? And so they're thinking of the future. And I guess with the way the wide receiver crop was this year, if they wanted to trade up, why didn't they try to trade up to get Jefferson? They wouldn't have had to go up very far to get him. But I was a little surprised by that. But, it's a new regime in Green Bay. It's so eerily similar to when Rodgers got drafted and when Brett Favre was there. And the Raiders, Riggs is good. And then but that pick at 19, the D-back Arnett from Ohio State, kind of a head-scratcher. I don't know. Another thing in the draft in the second round, the Eagles getting Jalen Hurts. I think they're going right along the line with the Packers. You need two solid quarterbacks in your draft or on your team, especially starting next year with the extra game, the extra playoff game. You got to have the depth. So I guess I understand it. So that part of it, I guess I can agree with. Pretty much everything else went pretty true to form. We'll dissect it tomorrow night. We'll have our grades on it, who did what, who we thought maybe could have used a little more help. So I look forward to that tomorrow night. Where'd the time go? This hour has flown by. Jesse Thompson from the Washington Capitals, their youth hockey. I want to thank her for jumping on the show, talking about their virtual hockey fair coming up in Combine tonight at 5:30, and also it'll highlight the ACHA. They'll have check their website out as they will talk more about when it's at 5:30 tonight, and then the availability of the individual coaches throughout the week. A great way to check out the ACHA programs. I want to thank her for her time here tonight. I want to thank you for jumping on and watching us here this afternoon live here on the 12-Ounce Sports Network. Hey, this reminder, keep your heads up, keep your sticks down, keep your feet moving, and as always, keep your minds open. Thanks for joining us on the show. We'll be on again tomorrow night, 8 o'clock normal time, here on the Captain Lou Extravaganza on the 12-Ounce Sports Network.